Let me introduce to you Tiffany Smith. Tiffany is with Medici Ventures with Stanton, and she's in the finance area, and she has been around blockchain for a long time, many years, and is well versed in some of the issues or things that might come up, and so she's going to moderate this discussion. So if you have a question, raise your hand. She'll call on you, and we'll have the presenters repeat the question. Unfortunately, we only have one mic, so we're going to have to be passing it around back and forth. But with that, then let's get started. Okay.
Thank you so much for the introduction. Thanks for having us. We're excited to answer all of your burning questions. So I'd like to thank each one of you for your presentation today. I felt like we got a lot of coverage about what blockchain is, what blockchain can do for me. We've touched base on STOs, and then we've also gotten kind of a macro or a global view of kind of what's happening and going on in different areas. So again, thank you each one of you. I thought it would be helpful to go ahead and just open it up to the audience and see what questions you guys have. As he mentioned, I do have some filler questions, but let's make this the best hour that I can for you guys, and more interactive. You'll have more to take away. So,
I have a question, and it's a naive question, but it's a question nonetheless. Does blockchain take out credit cards in the future?
so the question is, does blockchain take credit cards out of the future? Is there...
I'll just jump in real quick. So I was watching a video the other day, and this little 4 or 5-year-old walks up to the counter with her watch and hit the counter. The money was transferred, and she grabbed the piece of candy and walked away. And I looked at that and I said, wow, this girl's never going to understand what physical money is. And when we start talking credit cards, you know, we've got credit cards, Apple Pay, you've got your card on your phone. So I think there will be, you know, the digital aspect of it. But I think, you know, I see the world going to that, to where, I always look at China as a very interesting testing pot. They're so far ahead. It's crazy. As I go and have a bagel and watch 1,000 people come through this little bagel shop, they never once pulled out any currency. They just did their phone. They have a QR code. They walked by, boom, and kept going. And so, you know, that's kind of my answer.
Yeah, I think there's a chance the physical card, yeah, it's going away already, right? But are the credit card companies going to go away? It's debatable, right? I think, you know, they all have projects going on where they're exploring blockchain technologies. And they're really settlement facilitators anyway. They verify information and then manage settlement. And that process is still going to take place. I think you'll start to see, you kind of have to start to imagine brands as almost sovereign nations. So you have Amazon, who issues their Amazon coin. And if you're a loyal customer to Amazon, you may transact in Amazon coin almost exclusively. But there would probably still be markets for, you know, third parties that can facilitate transactions between multiple merchants and consumers. So yeah, I don't think the card brands as we know them go away, but the role may shift a little bit.
I think another perspective on that is, will there be a sort of micro lending, peer lending, blockchain-enabled alternative to credit cards? And you're seeing a lot of that happening in the developing world, where people are looking at sort of taking the Kiva model or micro-lending model and pushing that on the blockchain so that there's more security and there's a better record and there's more traceability of those transactions, but also just the fungibility. So you have the ability to, you know, instantly transfer from one fiat currency into a different type of digital currency, and then have that digital currency divided in hundreds of ways. So you can send someone 17 cents very in an efficient fashion, or you can't financially make sense of the transaction costs to send small amounts of money or microtransactions. So I think new credit facilities empowered by blockchain technology, yes, or Visa and MasterCard going to figure out how to make money on blockchain, absolutely, but I think there's going to be a different type of ecosystem developed around this ability to do microtransactions with almost no cost.
So can we change the subject, new question?
Yes, absolutely.
I don't mean to cut that off. So it might be a naive perspective, but it seems like we're living in two different worlds right now. We've got this emerging digital world with some kind of an exchange, and we have our current system. If I'm heavily moving forward into the digital stuff, how do those two worlds play together right now? So help me understand, if I've got digital currency, for example, and I want to go buy a car down at Larry H. Miller, how do those two worlds work together right now? What's the convergence? How does that work?
Okay, so I don't know if everyone heard, so I'm just going to kind of summarize your question the best that I can. It sounds like, so we are living in potentially two different worlds, right? We've got a digital world and then our current world. And how are we bridging that, and what does that look like?
Isn't overstock? I mean, didn't overstock do exactly that?
So there are examples, but I'm saying if I'm more in a generic way, I recognize I can interact with Overstock, they're leading the charge. But is there currently a way to do that outside of Overstock's asset, their current inventory? And what does that convergence look like? I assume the answer is no. I might be wrong. How do I buy a car using my digital blockchain?
It's happening now. So I can buy a house with a partner of mine actually settled using BitPay, doing real estate. And
are those just individual companies that are forward thinking and have the systems? But it's not a global.
No, that's not true. So there's a card now, just like a credit card. She said the credit card. There's a card now that can take all your crypto. So if you wanted to go buy a car with cash, right? You go to buy the card with cash. That card, it's like when you go to a vending machine. There's somebody at the end of the night that still takes that money and goes to a bank, right? And then they deposit all that money into a bank, and then that money then becomes what to us? You can see it on your computer, right, with your bank account. And so it's the same thing as a transaction. There's cards now. Just like he said, you have 300 trading platforms right now?
Right there.
Yeah.
So there's the physical card. That's all cryptocurrency.
So any vendor worldwide will accept that?
It's Visa. So anything that accepts Visa, so I can transfer over crypto onto that card. It then essentially sells it and puts it into my wallet. And so at any time I can go use any transaction by anything. And so it's kind of pulling those worlds
So that's
together.
the current convergence, is these crypto cards that takes my digital currency, converts it to
Fiat.
and away we go. Okay, good, thanks.
I can add to that really quick. So Square just announced that they're working on a crypto piece, so they're going to incorporate that into the Square, so you can actually use Square and buy things with crypto with that too. So these things are in the works for sure.
There's also a revenue share card that's coming out where each merchant offers a discount. You plug in, it has the chip on it, so you pay from 2,200 different currencies. You can actually swipe on the card itself. It's self-powered, it holds power for a month, and it stores all 2,200 different cryptocurrencies, any that are on the exchange. You can choose your debit card, credit card, cryptocurrency card, and make a payment directly. It'll convert your crypto into fiat, pay for the hamburger, and you get a 5% discount on the hamburger for using the card at their establishment.
It's so also is that the future, or do you see something else?
Yeah, I'll kind of take the bearish side of that, which is the last thing I want to do is buy a hamburger with Bitcoin, right? I mean, it's, from my standpoint, you know, there are elements of cryptocurrency that are, you know, one way of saying it would be, you know, a solution in search of a problem. Another way of saying it would be, it's like 100 fleas looking for a dog, you know, where there's really not any, you know, it's like, I don't have a problem going to the store and running my Visa card, and I pay at the end of the month, so I'm not worried about those transaction charges. But where, you know, where I think there will be, you know, some value is in reducing the cost to, say, the merchant. So if you're the merchant and you're paying 3% on every transaction, and some other process comes along where you can do it for 1%, and the experience from the consumer is sort of indifferent, then yeah, that solves a real problem, right? It solves the merchant's problems. It doesn't solve the consumer's problem because the consumer doesn't have a problem. But that would be an application where, you know, where there could be a value there. Now you have to offset that against, you know, if you're a consumer, do you want to have 20 currencies on your credit card in your wallet, or do you just want to have the good old US dollar?
I have a question.
Yes, go ahead.
This question directed Professor Richard and Ms. Anton, and this is in regard to Nasgo. Eric presented the evolution of Nasgo in the last 3-4 years towards now. Based on your review of all these companies regarding the blockchain and the companies Anton invested in, where does Nasgo fit among all these companies that you put an X on and you invested in? So where does Nasgo fit?
That's a good question. Good question.
Did everyone hear his question?
Kinda.
Okay, would you mind?
Well, I want to make sure I understand how you want me to address this. So given I'm very bullish on the adoption of technology globally, and you're asking me how Nasgo sort of fits in the evolving marketplace, is that a fair way of saying it?
I think so.
Okay. So the honest answer is I'm biased. I like Eric, and I like his company, so I'm not an objective observer here. So I have no ability to predict his growth. I mean, just being objective about this, it's like, you know, is it MySpace or Facebook or something else? I have no idea what consumers are going to adopt, but there is going to be a massive market advantage to early movers, and the scaling and the ability to adopt. And frankly, the U.S. is, you say 3 to 5 years behind, maybe it's 7 years behind. I mean, we are drastically behind Asia. Like there's a network of 3 million miners that I'm aware of, and 92% of them are in Asia. And they have each of them have crypto wallets, and each of those 3 million people have, I think the average is 15,000 US equivalent in dollars. So there's a huge, you know, economic and political risk and geopolitical risk, and a lot of reasons why people want to have crypto assets. They want to transact outside of systems that the government can shut down quickly. So Asia is far, far, far more advanced than we are. So in terms of, you know, is Eric making the right decision in launching in Vietnam and China and doing what he's doing? Absolutely smart play. You owe me a beer.
Got it.
Yeah, I don't know that I have a lot of great insight to add. I think, you know, in terms of the 6 pillars that Medici Ventures looks at, Eric's company would be somewhere in the people range. There's also sort of, you know, a social and advertising aspect to it that we haven't really gotten into. There are a couple other categories that we don't even touch, you know, entertainment and things like that. But yeah, where Eric is enabling people to take advantage of their own data and try to monetize their own data, I think that falls under sort of the people model that we think about. Yeah, and it looks pretty impressive.
I really needed to be clear that I'm one of the first investors in Nasgo.
He's trying to validate.
So I don't know what you invest more or
Feel better.
still.
Nice disclaimer. Yes.
Disclaimer after.
Hands over.
They'll talk to you afterwards.
Mr. Bergen.
Yeah, so two-part question. So Eric, you talked about how, you know, once people have your coin, or your token, that, you know, you can track them anywhere, and immediately I think privacy issues, like massive privacy issues, which would theoretically hinder the adoption of not only you, but anybody else. If people have Big Brother looking at me, right? So one, how do you address like massive privacy issues here. And then secondly, just in general for blockchain, you know, what's the risk that people, it's like secure and immutable, but what's the risk that people can tag on and amend and suddenly say that they bought my house for $1 when they haven't bought my house for, you know, amend the blockchain, and what's the risk to that, to our economy and usage of blockchain in general? So.
Great questions. So Vapor, there is no.
Could you repeat the question?
Yeah.
Oh, question was first is the token where you can track it, and that brings up privacy issues. Like, are you guys tracking me because I've got that token in my wallet? And then second was the can I actually add on to your token or add on to the blockchain, make some sort of update to it?
Hack it.
Hack it.
Yeah.
Basically go into that block and add data to it. So the first thing, Vapor, is when you sign up, there is no personal data. So you are a wallet. So if you think about that token, it has 0 personal data attached to it. You could go through the whole system and nobody ever knows who you are. You are a wallet address.
You're just a number. Basically.
You're a number. The only time you come out of that is if somebody goes and redeems it and then it wants to be added into your contact database. That's when you can actually go put your information in as a contact in their database. So Amico has content information that has a privacy policies and things. Vapor, just a number. So it's on, and I'll get a little techie here, but it's, you know, Amico is on-chain, Vapor is off-chain. Vapor is just an off-chain that's moving around, collecting, playing together. Once you come to redeem it, you are back now on-chain.
But I make a choice as to how much information I share
Yes.
and with who.
Yes,
So
100%.
Other people cannot access that.
No.
And say, hey, you know, he's on chain now, so now I've got all of his data.
No. You choose exactly what kind of data that you want to put on there. Great question. And then second is, you know, blockchain, that's the whole purpose of it, of having it digitally stamped and making it to where the code can't be updated like that. Those blocks can't be updated. You would have to actually add that data, have it validated through the whole network as a new data. It would get denied on the network.
So a hack basically, because it doesn't have a digital stamp, basically wouldn't be
It wouldn't be validated.
valid.
No, somebody would try to change something, add something, it would override it.
Couldn't you hack a digital stamp?
It's based on time, though.
Well,
So you'd have to go back in time in order to hack
yeah,
it.
you gotta look at, if you start to look at what each block has on it, that timestamp, the hash of the previous.
No, but I mean amend it. So like, you know, for a piece of real estate, like a house gets sold every 2, 3, 4, 5 years, right? So I buy a house, and then someone says, you know, hacks the blockchain and says 3 years from now that they bought the house from me when they didn't. So I'm not talking about retroactive hack. I'm talking about they amend that chain 2 or 3 years in the future and say, yeah, I bought his house for $1. It was a great deal.
So I used to teach cybersecurity, so you're asking a nerd and dangerous question here. So the answer is yes. There have been successful hacks against chains, which is the reason that the vast majority